The art of survival in the shadows of royal power. The very essence of power is absolute suspicion. Anyone who ascends the throne carries within them a primal fear of the greatness of others. A sovereign may pray to the heavens to grant them exceptional subjects to expand their borders and pacify the realm. Yet, at the very moment the land is stabilized, those very talents become a sharp thorn in the monarch's eye. The higher the talent, the greater the threat. The superior's desire for control does not permit any individual to reach a level of influence that exceeds what is granted by the court. From the perspective of princes and lords, a perfect subject is not one of superhuman ability or supreme moral character. A perfect servant must be one who is easily manipulated, someone who constantly reveals fatal weaknesses so the monarch can hold their leash, dispense favor or wrath, and maintain the order of rule. Facing this naked truth, the most brilliant minds in the world soon realize that talent is a gift of nature, but flaunting that talent before a sovereign is a death sentence. To survive under dynasties where the flash of a blade is always ready to strike, the truly gifted never fight with naive integrity. They grasp the psychology of the ruler and use the traps of power themselves to weave a suit of armor for their own lives. Their art of survival is built upon strategies that are utterly ruthless, cold, and pragmatic. The veil of stupidity and greed. There is an immutable principle in the halls of officialdom. The most dangerous enemy of the throne is not the one with malicious intent, but the one who possesses no worldly desires. An incorruptible minister, ever victorious in battle, hailed by the people and indifferent to fame and fortune, is the ultimate nightmare for any monarch. When a man does not crave wealth or succumb to lust, what can the court use to reward or control him? The superior will immediately deduce that a person who rejects all mortal pleasures must surely be nurturing an ambition greater than all else, the seizure of the throne. The moral perfection of a subject is, in itself, an indictment of the ruler's incompetence. Recognizing this deadly logical trap, the wisest men choose to defile themselves. They perform a grand play before the monarch. They intentionally display insatiable greed, constantly clamoring for land, mansions, and gold every time they achieve a feat. This action may seem short-sighted at first glance, but it is, in fact, a masterstroke of psychological maneuvering. By exposing greed as a weakness, they hand the monarch a gilded collar with which to control them. When the king sees his subject as merely a common profit-seeker, he will smile with satisfaction, for he knows the kingdom has more than enough wealth to fatten a hunting dog, and a man who only knows how to count gold certainly does not know how to plot the overthrow of a nation. Furthermore, when the jealousy of the superior or rival factions reaches its peak, feigning madness or debasing one's dignity to the absolute limit is the only path to survival. Accepting to wallow in the mud, eating filth, or muttering nonsense is a way to erase one's name from the chessboard of power. A madman or a cripple is no longer a threat to anyone. Great minds are willing to destroy their public image, for they understand that honor is worthless if life is forfeited. Artificial stupidity is the sturdiest fortress against the arrows of envy, the art of preserving threats to maintain importance. The naive believe that the reward for completely solving all problems is eternal recognition. The seasoned veteran understands that the arrow is broken when there are no more birds in the sky, and the great general is purged when the kingdom has no more enemies. The existence of talented individuals depends entirely on their utility to the court. If they use all their talent to extinguish every rebellion, uproot all opposing forces, and bring eternal peace to the dynasty, they have inadvertently signed their own death warrant. A sovereign only dispenses power when he feels fear toward external threats. Once the threat vanishes, the power held in the hands of the subject immediately becomes a malignant tumor directly threatening the throne. Therefore, the most sophisticated tactic of the ultimate survivors is to nurture the enemy to maintain their own value. When entrusted with a campaign or a daunting task, they never resolve it so perfectly as to achieve total annihilation. They always know how to leave a remnant, a seed of rebellion, or create diplomatic knots that can never be fully untied. They report brilliant victories interspersed with lingering difficulties to prove that danger still lurks at the borders. that hostile forces are still watching, and that the court must continue to employ them to ensure the nation's safety. This is a reverse psychological manipulation. The monarch uses titles and promises to drive subjects to exhaustion, but the brilliant elites use the monarch's own fear to maintain their position. They transform themselves into the only remedy for a disease that must never be fully cured. An empire in a state of controlled crisis is an empire that must always remain on its knees before the minds that know how to manage that crisis. The art of attributing merit to create the illusion of glory. Talent inherently carries pride, but pride is a poison in the royal court. A core principle of survival is never to allow one's own radiance to obscure the shadow of the sovereign. The ruler always yearns to be perceived as an omnipotent being. Every prosperous development and every grand victory must originate from his transcendent wisdom. The flattery of the talented is not the cheap sycophancy of uneducated court toadies. It is a systematic strategy of glory transfer. When they conceive of a brilliant scheme, they will subtly guide the monarch to believe that it was the king himself who initiated the idea. When they achieve a great victory on the battlefield, their memorial to the throne will contain only praises for the king's sagacity, divine virtue, and far-reaching vision that guided the army. They portray themselves merely as humble tools who, by the luck of absorbing the monarch's imperial grace, managed to complete the task. This act of self-effacement aims to satisfy the insatiable vanity of the superior. The sovereign needs adulation to reinforce his belief in his own absolute legitimacy. When a subject proactively surrenders all merit, turning themselves into an ornate scabbard to honor the sharpness of the blade of royal power, the monarch feels immensely secure. He will reward the compliant one generously, because indulging a talented person who always bows in submission creates the illusion that he is in total control of all things. The wise use sharp flattery as a shield against jealousy, buying the time and space to continue consolidating invisible power in the shadows. The gambit of mortal compulsion and the principle of mutual destruction. However, all masks can be stripped away, and all concessions have limits. No matter how much one feigns ignorance, creates artificial necessity, or surrenders all glory, sometimes the monarch's suspicious nature transcends all boundaries of reason. When the dynasty is too secure, or when the ruler is driven into a state of extreme paranoia, he will decide to purge the founding ministers. When the blade of annihilation is at the throat and all exits are blocked, the talented will resort to their final and most terrifying weapon, which is mutually assured destruction. Anyone smart enough to help a monarch win the world is also cunning enough to see through the darkest corners beneath the throne. Throughout the process of service, the exceptionally gifted never turn a blind eye. They silently collect, hide, and systematize the court's filthiest secrets. These could be ambiguous secret edicts, blood-stained shadow deals to seize power, hidden wealth, or evidence of the treacherous perfidy of the very person sitting on the throne. This is not a proactive treasonous defense, but life insurance. When pushed to the brink, the attitude of the talented person will immediately shift. They cast off the humble facade to deliver a cold, sharp message directly to the sovereign, stating that the existence of this dynasty is tied to the beating of my heart. They do not threaten directly, for crude threats only lead to a swifter death. They establish a network of vital pressure points where all secrets will automatically explode and all documents will be distributed to the nation's most dangerous enemies if their lives are harmed. This is the balance of power at its most primal and ruthless level. The sovereign realizes that in exchange for the head of a lowly subject, he must pay with the legitimacy of an entire dynasty, face rebellions from all directions, and be forever etched in history as a cruel and sinful tyrant. The principle of dragging the dynasty down with oneself forces the superior to shelve the intent to purge. No monarch, no matter how brutal, is willing to set fire to his palace just to incinerate a single rat. Safety at this point no longer comes from loyalty or affection, but from the cold calculation of irreparable losses. The subject stands on the edge of the abyss, but holds in their hand the rope tied to the throne, leading to a silent truce, intense and strained, yet highly effective. Both maintain a faint smile in the royal court, masking a pact saturated with the scent of death, saying, "Let me live, and your dynasty shall continue to be shrouded in its glorious veneer." Final words. The war between supreme power and exceptional talent has never been an epic of loyalty and righteousness. It is a cold chessboard of pragmatic calculations, where morality is but a hollow cloak covering the desires for survival and manipulation. While the sovereign casts nets of splendor to drain the wisdom of the world, the enlightened also know how to clip their own wings of pride, coil themselves in the mud, offer hollow praises, and even foster endless threats to force the throne to lean on them forever. Surviving under a sky of royal power is not the victory of the bravest, but the art of the one who knows how to bend the truth and hold the darkness. While the cheers in the court still echo and the monarch still reigns upon a shining throne, does anyone wonder if the one truly controlling the gears of the nation's destiny is the one wearing the crown, or the one kneeling upon the palace floor, hiding within their sleeves secrets powerful enough to overturn the universe?